The Titan Project. Commander Elena Reyes stood before the enormous viewport of Deimos Station, her eyes fixed on the asteroid being towed into position. Ceres, once simply the largest object in the asteroid belt, was now humanity's last desperate hope. "Status report," she said, not turning from the view. Chief Engineer Marcus Chen consulted his tablet. Gravitational cores are at 87% integration. Propulsion systems are online but untested. Weapons arrays are at 62% completion. And the shield generators? A pause. 53%. Commander, we're having trouble with the power distribution network. Helena nodded, finally turning to face the exhausted engineering team gathered in the observation deck. Dark circles ringed their eyes, testament to weeks of 18-hour shifts. The Coalition fleet would reach Mars in 9 days. They needed more time, but time was the one resource humanity had finally run out of. "You've all seen the reports from Neptune," she said. "The outpost there lasted less than an hour against a single Coalition dreadnought. Earth faces a fleet of 37. The room remained silent. Everyone knew what that meant. Since humanity's first contact with the coalition of 7 species 3 years ago, they had been fighting a losing war. The Coalition, a millennia-old alliance of spacefaring civilizations, had declared humans unfit for autonomous governance and launched a pacification campaign. Translation: extinction or subjugation. "Director Zhang, how soon can we deploy?" Elena asked. The project director, a small woman with steel-gray hair, stepped forward. "Recommended minimum operational readiness is 85% across all systems. We're at 67% overall. Deployment now would be inadvisable. And if we wait for 85%, 3 more weeks minimum." Elena turned back to the viewport, watching as maneuvering thrusters fired along Ceres' modified surface, adjusting its position millimeter by perfect millimeter. "We don't have 3 weeks," she said quietly. "We have 9 days." The Titan project had begun as a theoretical exercise 5 years before first contact. A young astrophysicist named Kamal Nasser had proposed a revolutionary approach to space warfare. Why build warships when there were already massive objects floating in space? His paper, "Asteroids as Platforms for Deep Space Defense," had been largely dismissed as impractical, until the Coalition arrived and humanity discovered just how outmatched they were. Now, Kamal stood beside Elena, his theoretical exercise transformed into a last-ditch effort for survival. "We can deploy at 70%, he said firmly. "The gravitational manipulation system is the key innovation, and it's nearly online. Everything else is traditional technology, just scaled up." Director Zhang shook her head. "The shield generators will hold," Kamal insisted. "They don't need to be perfect. They just need to last long enough." Elena considered her options. In 9 days, Earth would face an armada designed to end human independence forever. Conventional forces had proven useless against Coalition technology. Project Titan was their only chance, a 950-kilometer asteroid, transformed into the largest warship ever conceived, powered by technology the Coalition couldn't possibly expect. "Accelerate integration of all critical systems," she ordered. "I want us at 70% in 7 days. We'll do live fire testing en route to Earth orbit." As the meeting dispersed, Elena remained at the viewport. The surface of Ceres glittered with newly installed technology. Propulsion arrays, weapon platforms, communication towers, and the revolutionary gravitational manipulation systems that would allow the massive rock to maneuver like a ship 1,000th its size. "This is insanity, you know," said a voice behind her. Admiral James Chen, her direct superior and the last surviving member of Earth's Space Command High Council. "Yes, sir," Elena agreed. "And our only hope." "Yes, sir." The Admiral stepped up beside her. "The Coalition believes they know our capabilities. They've assessed our technology, our resources, our fighting strength. They've calculated exactly how long it will take to conquer Earth. Their calculations didn't include Ceres, Elena said. No, the Admiral said with the ghost of a smile. They didn't. 3 days later, disaster struck. Elena was awakened at 300 hours by the station-wide alarm. She reached the command center to find chaos. Status, she barked. Primary gravitational core experienced a cascading failure, Kamal reported, fingers flying over a console. We're seeing a ripple effect through the secondary systems. On the main screen, Ceres was drifting out of position, slowly rotating as emergency thrusters fought to stabilize it. Casualties? Elena asked. 7 confirmed, Director Zhang reported grimly. 2 engineering teams were inside when the core destabilized. Internal gravity went from 1G to 15G in under 10 seconds. Elena closed her eyes briefly. 7 more lives. How many had humanity already lost to the coalition? Millions. The Neptune outpost alone had housed 10,000 colonists. Can we fix it? She asked finally. Kamal and Director Zhang exchanged glances. Yes, Kamal said. But it will take time we don't have. The gravitational manipulation system was the cornerstone of the entire project. Without it, Ceres is just a big rock with guns. How much time? 4 days to replace the damaged components. Another 2 for testing. 6 days. The coalition would reach Mars in 6 days. Do it, Elena ordered, and prepare a contingency plan for deployment without full gravitational capabilities. As the engineering teams mobilized, Admiral Chen pulled Elena aside. You know what partial deployment means, he said quietly. Without the gravity system, Ceres can't maneuver effectively. It becomes a one-shot weapon at best. 1 shot might be enough, Elena replied. If we can destroy even half their fleet, then the other half still reaches Earth, and we have nothing left to surprise them with. The Admiral shook his head. The Security Council is discussing surrender terms. Elena felt cold fury rise within her. Surrender. After Neptune. They believe it might spare civilian populations. The coalition has promised. The coalition promised Neptune would be unharmed if they surrendered peacefully. Elena cut in. We both saw the aftermath footage. The Admiral's face darkened. I know, but without Titan at full capacity. Give us the 6 days, Elena said. If we fail, the surrender option remains. If we succeed. The repair operation became a round-the-clock endeavor. Sleep was forgotten. Meals were taken at workstations. Engineers worked until they collapsed, then were replaced by others. On the 4th day, Elena received word from Earth. The coalition fleet had accelerated. They would reach Mars in just 36 hours. We need to launch now, she told the project team. Ready or not? Kamal looked up from his workstation, eyes bloodshot from lack of sleep. The replacement core is installed but untested. If it fails during operation, then we're no worse off than we are now, Elena finished. Begin launch preparations. As Deimos Station detached from Ceres, the massive asteroid began to pulse with energy. Propulsion systems fired along its equator, halting its rotation. Communication arrays glowed to life across its surface. Deep within the rock, the new gravitational core activated, creating a controlled field that would allow the asteroid to move with impossible agility for something its size. Titan is away, reported the flight controller. All systems nominal. Elena watched as humanity's last hope began its journey toward Earth, accelerating far faster than any object that size should be able to move. Transit time to Earth, she asked. 30 hours at current acceleration, came the reply. We'll beat the coalition fleet by 6 hours. Elena nodded. 6 hours to position Titan, to prepare Earth's remaining defenses, to ready for humanity's final stand. Set course for Earth, she ordered. And send word to all remaining military outposts. Operation Titan is a go. As Deimos Station began its own journey back to Earth, Elena returned to her quarters. She needed at least a few hours of rest before the coming battle. But sleep wouldn't come. Instead, she found herself thinking about the sheer audacity of their plan. For thousands of years, humans had dreamed of the stars. For hundreds, they had reached for them. For decades, they had lived among them. And now, after just 3 years of contact with the galactic community, they faced extinction, unless a rock could save them. The irony wasn't lost on Alina. Throughout history, humans had built larger and larger ships, from canoes to galleons to aircraft carriers to space cruisers. And now, at the moment of greatest need, they had abandoned ships entirely in favor of a solution no other species had considered. Don't build a warship, transform what already exists. It was so simple, so obvious in retrospect. And if it worked, it would change everything. Alina finally drifted to sleep, dreaming of asteroids moving like dancers among the stars, of Earth safe and free, of a humanity that had earned its place in the galaxy through ingenuity rather than surrender. 6 hours later, her communicator chimed with an urgent message. The Coalition fleet had changed course. They were bypassing Mars entirely, accelerating directly toward Earth. The final confrontation would begin in just 18 hours. Defiance of stars. Admiral Tsenkor of the Coalition Armada stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Inevitable Dominance, watching as the holographic display showed their approach to the third planet of this unremarkable star system. Earth, home to the troublesome humans who had refused to accept their proper place in the galactic hierarchy. Status of the human defenses, he asked his tactical officer. Minimal, Admiral, replied Sub-Commander Vex. They have consolidated their remaining ships around their homeworld. 43 vessels of various classes, none larger than a light cruiser. Ground-based weapon systems are primarily kinetic. Our projections indicate total pacification within 14 standard hours. Tsenkor nodded, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence, a gesture of satisfaction in his species. The humans had fought well for primitives, but the outcome had never been in doubt. The coalition of 7 species had been enforcing galactic order for millennia. Humans were merely the latest in a long line of species that required guidance. Curious, said Science Officer Pelks, studying a different section of the display. I'm detecting an unusual mass within the orbital path of their moon. Identification? Asked Tsenkor. Pelks adjusted the sensors. It appears to be an asteroid, Admiral, approximately 950 kilometers in diameter. However, it's demonstrating controlled movement inconsistent with natural orbital mechanics. Tsenkor frowned. A weapon? Unknown. Our database contains no record of humans possessing technology capable of manipulating objects of that size. Maintain course, Tsenkor ordered, but increase forward shields by 30%. Contact the human authorities and remind them of our terms of surrender. As the Coalition fleet approached Earth, the asteroid moved to intercept, positioning itself between the invaders and the planet. The human defense fleet, rather than forming a screen, had withdrawn to positions behind the massive rock. Admiral, Sub-Commander Vex reported, we're receiving a transmission from the asteroid. Display, Tsenkor ordered. A human female appeared on the main screen wearing what appeared to be a military uniform. She stood in a chamber carved from stone, surrounded by technology integrated directly into the rock walls. Coalition fleet, this is Commander Alina Reyes of the Earth Defense Force vessel Titan. You are entering sovereign human territory. Reverse course immediately or be destroyed. Tsenkor felt a ripple of amusement pass through his upper sensory ridge. The human's audacity was almost admirable. Commander Reyes, he replied, this is Admiral Tsenkor of the Coalition Armada. Your species has been judged unfit for self-governance. Your resistance, while noteworthy, is futile. Surrender now, and your civilian populations will be treated according to Coalition subjugation protocols. The human's expression did not change. You misunderstand, Admiral. This is not a negotiation. It is the only warning you will receive. The transmission ended. Primitive psychological tactics, Sub-Commander Vex remarked. Perhaps, Tsenkor said, or perhaps not. Analysis of that asteroid. Science Officer Pelks hesitated. Our sensors are having difficulty penetrating its surface, Admiral. However, I am detecting significant energy signatures consistent with weapon systems. And something else. An energy pattern I cannot identify. Senkor considered the situation. The humans had clearly weaponized an asteroid. An impressive feat for such a young species, but ultimately irrelevant. Even a rock that size could not withstand the combined firepower of 37 coalition warships. Formation Alpha 6, he ordered. Target the asteroid with all forward batteries. Let us dispose of this obstacle quickly. Aboard Titan, Elena watched the coalition fleet spread into attack formation. They're targeting us with weapons lock, reported Tactical Officer Wei. Energy signatures indicate charging weapons. Elena nodded. Status of our shields. Holding at 83% capacity, Chief Engineer Chen replied. Gravitational core is stable. Weapon systems are online. Elena took a deep breath. This was the moment that would determine humanity's future. Everything they had worked for, everything they had sacrificed for, came down to the next few minutes. All stations, battle protocols, she ordered. Initiate Phase 1. Deep within Ceres, the gravitational core pulsed. The asteroid didn't just have engines and weapons attached to it. Its entire mass had been integrated with the revolutionary gravitational manipulation system, allowing it to create and direct localized gravity fields with unprecedented precision. As the coalition fleet opened fire, something impossible happened. The energy beams and plasma torpedoes, instead of striking Titan's shields, curved away, bending in space as if deflected by an invisible force. They spiraled harmlessly into the void, missing their target entirely. On the command deck of Inevitable Dominance, Admiral Senkor stared in disbelief. What happened? He demanded. Unknown, Admiral. Science Officer Pelks replied, frantically analyzing data. It appears the asteroid is somehow manipulating gravity itself, creating localized distortions that bend the path of our weapons fire. Impossible, Senkor said. No known species possesses such technology. The humans apparently do, Pelks responded. Before Senkor could issue new orders, Titan attacked. Unlike the coalition weapons, which relied on energy beams and explosives, Titan's primary weapons were gravity itself. Focused gravitational beams shot from projectors along the asteroid's surface, targeting specific coalition ships. Where these invisible beams struck, localized gravity increased 1,000-fold. 3 coalition cruisers imploded instantly, their hulls crumpling like paper as artificial gravity crushed them from all sides. 4 more lost power as their engines were crushed by impossible weight. The remaining ships attempted evasive maneuvers, but Titan pursued with impossible agility for an object its size, manipulating its own gravitational field to move like a vessel 1,000th its mass. Abandon attack formation. Senkor ordered. Defensive pattern Omega. All ships target different sections of the asteroid simultaneously. The coalition fleet regrouped, spreading out to attack from multiple angles. This time, some of their weapons fire made it through Titan's gravity defenses, striking the asteroid's surface. Explosions blossomed across Ceres, vaporizing sections of rock and destroying weapon emplacements. But the damage was superficial. Titan had too much mass to be significantly harmed by conventional weapons. Phase 2, Elena ordered aboard Titan. The gravitational core pulsed again, this time projecting a different kind of field, a gravity wave that expanded outward in all directions. As it passed through the coalition fleet, ship after ship lost power, their engines unable to function within the distorted spacetime. Within minutes, 23 coalition warships drifted helplessly, caught in Titan's gravitational web. The remaining 14, including Admiral Senkor's flagship, maintained power but found their weapons systems compromised by the fluctuating gravity fields. This is Commander Rice to Coalition Fleet, Elena transmitted. Your ships are disabled or compromised. Surrender now or be destroyed. On the bridge of inevitable dominance, Admiral Tenkor faced the unthinkable. Defeat at the hands of a species the Coalition had dismissed as primitive. His tactical officer was dead, killed when a console exploded during the gravity wave. His flagship's engines were functioning at 30% capacity. Half his fleet was drifting helplessly in space. "Admiral," Science Officer Pelks said quietly, "the humans have discovered gravitational manipulation 1,000 years before our projections indicated they should. This changes everything." Tenkor knew he was right. The balance of power that had defined the galaxy for millennia had shifted in a single battle. If humans could turn asteroids into warships with technology no other species possessed, what else might they achieve? "Open a channel to the human vessel," he ordered. 3 days after the Battle of Earth, as it was already being called, the Coalition Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from all 7 member species gathered to address the unprecedented situation. Elena Reyes and Admiral Chen attended as humanity's representatives, standing before the Council in the Great Chamber on the Coalition capital world. The first humans ever to do so. "You have violated the natural order," declared Ponlax, the Vril representative. "Species are meant to develop along established paths. Your gravitational technology is an aberration." "The natural order," Elena replied coolly. "Or just your order. Your victory was impressive," acknowledged Terracen of the Mullery, "but you cannot expect to maintain independence. The Coalition spans 1,200 worlds. You have one. We have one planet," Admiral Chen agreed, "and one very large asteroid warship, and the materials to build more." A murmur passed through the chamber. "The human representative makes a valid point," said Nextol of the Pantheri, the most technologically advanced Coalition species. "Their approach to warship construction is unconventional, but effective. Traditional space combat tactics are inadequate against such vessels." "What do you want?" asked the Coalition High Chancellor finally. Elena stepped forward. "Recognition of Earth and all its colonies as sovereign territory, non-aggression pacts with all Coalition species, and a seat on this council." Outrage erupted from several representatives. The demand was unprecedented. No species had ever joined the council without centuries of probationary status. "Impossible," shouted Ponlax. "You are barely spacefaring. And yet here we stand," Admiral Chen said quietly, "having defeated your best fleet." The High Chancellor raised a hand for silence. "The Council will consider your demands. But understand this, humans, you have surprised us once. It will not happen again." As they left the chamber, Elena glanced at Admiral Chen. "They're already planning how to counter Titan," she said. "Of course," Chen agreed, "which is why the engineering team is already working on Phase 3. The Jupiter Project." Chen nodded. If they were surprised by an asteroid warship, imagine their reaction to a weaponized gas giant. Elena smiled for the first time in weeks. Humanity had earned itself a reprieve, not through strength of arms in the traditional sense, but through the uniquely human approach of looking at problems differently than anyone else. The Coalition had expected primitive ships engaging in conventional space combat. Instead, they had faced a weapon they couldn't have predicted because their minds didn't work that way. They had expected humans to build bigger ships. Humans had decided not to build ships at all. As their shuttle departed the Coalition world, Elena watched the stars through the viewport. Somewhere out there, Kamal and his team were already planning the next innovation, the next impossible thing that would secure humanity's place among those stars. The war wasn't over, but for the first time since the Coalition arrived, humanity was fighting on its own terms. And that, Elena knew, was how humans had always achieved the impossible. Not by being the strongest, not by being the most advanced, but by being the most creative, the most adaptable, the most willing to try what no one else had thought of. That was humanity's gift. And now, the galaxy would have to reckon with it.